So this is my first motorcycle that I got many years ago. And when I first got it, I would take the tank off to work on it or do whatever I needed to do. And then I would go to put it back on, and this rear tab would never really line up. It was always kind of cocked to the side, unless I kind of moved it upwards, put a bunch of washers underneath it, and then it would somewhat line up. And so I'd come to these front mounts, and I would kind of crank down on them and try to get it to fit just right, and then I would end up with a leak over here on the petcock side. I'd go in there and I would feel a little bit of weeping out of there, and I didn't know if it was the petcock or what, but the petcock seemed fine, so I would just take it to the motorcycle shop here in town, and I gave the tank to them, and asked them if there's a leak up here in the seams on the mounts, or what the deal is, if they could figure it out. And they would just give it back to me and say, we couldn't really find a leak. Bring us the whole bike if you need to, but we can't really find a leak. So what I ended up doing was I would just get these bushings. Ordered these this is OEM, but this didn't come with this wasn't on the bike when I bought it. And I figured, you know what, this will take up some of the space. Obviously this bushing is designed to take up that space and keep you from over tightening those bolts. So I put those in and tightened it down, and there was no more leaks. So I kind of just forgot about it, didn't worry about it. Without these bushings in place, you can really crank on these and pull these tabs in a little bit too far, and it will start to develop a leak. But I went to go and I'm adding things to this motorcycle tank. I'm kind of doing some customizing to it, and I've learned a lot of things over the years. And so I was looking at it with fresh eyes, and I just kind of want to show you guys what's going on with it. Here we are on the underside of the tank. And so I do have, here's what I'm adding here. I'm adding a fitting here, and I've kind of gone across and removed all the paint, but you can tell that this tank, the underside of it, has been painted before. The whole thing is painted black underneath. And so that got me kind of thinking about what kind of work has been done to this tank before. And I started thinking about that leak, and then I saw some of this. Let's take a look at that side. It appears to have been brazed at some point in time over here. And you look at this mount in comparison to the other mount on the other side, and that looks factory. Doesn't really look like any repairs have been done to that side. Then you look at this side, and you can just tell that it has been brazed. And how they did it was, I don't know if they had a leak or what on this side, or whether the tab got ripped off somehow. I don't know, but what they did was they came in here and cut this tab off. They brazed. I'm assuming this entire joint is brazed. Redid that whole thing all the way behind and everything. You can look back in there and you can see that it has been completely brazed behind it. And then they went and brazed all this, brazed the tab back on, but they didn't get it on quite right. So if you look, from here to here, from the naked eye, it looks dead on. It looks like it would just go right on. But once you get it on the bike, you can tell that things are a little bit off. And it looks like a decently brazed joint. I mean, when I have these bushings in here and it doesn't get over tightened. There's not a single drip that comes out of this joint. So yeah, I could, you know, cut this off probably and redo this whole thing and try to split hairs there and try to get it just right. But at the end of the day, I don't, it would be way too hard to do that, to get it just perfect for what I might gain when both mounts will go in, both bolts will go in the front. It's just the back is just a little bit cocked to the side. So that's just something I thought was kind of interesting, that I would share with y'all. If you're wondering whether your tank has been fixed along the years, these are things to look for. Reason why they might use braze as opposed to welding is because it's a lower temperature. It mounts at a lower temperature. This very thin wall. Motorcycle tanks have a very thin wall, and so you might opt to use a brazing technique instead of a welding technique to keep from burning through that thin material, especially when you have a little bit thicker material that you're welding to it. And so that's kind of what they did. And then they painted the whole bottom of this. That's another pretty big indicator that something's been done. So anyway, thought I'd share that with you guys. Thanks for watching.